All right, here's Jeff Jones, former Weather Underground guy, Weather Bureau guy. And do we know? I mean, given that did he have ongoing relationships even with Bill Ayers? Do we know if had Jeff Jones and Barack Obama intersected? At any point? While they were all hanging out together.
We know that Jeff Jones, Bill Ayers, and a number of other former Students for a Democratic Society members sort of reconstituted it as something called the Movement for a Democratic Society in 2006. So they are still working together. They also started a group called Progressives for Obama that was actively supportive of him during the campaign. So there are a lot of connections there as well. The thing with Jeff Jones that I think is important to understand of what's going on in New York is that not only is he the New York State Director for Apollo, he's also a consultant to the National Apollo Alliance, which wrote much of the stimulus bill, and he's also a consultant for a group called the Workforce Development Institute, WDI, in New York State, that is writing the stimulus grant proposals for universities and local governments in New York State. So he's in a position to make sure that the groups that they want to get the stimulus grants from the bill that Apollo wrote will be writing the grant proposals that get approved, and they get the money. They're playing both ends of this. They write the bill, they write the grant proposals, they make sure that the money goes to people with their same worldview, with their same political agenda. That's how this game is being played. They're accessing the U.S. Treasury to advance political ends.
Here, and while we're grabbing that video, I'm going to do the little before and after picture. So I showed here's the weather ground picture back in the day. Here is Jeff Jones now talking to, I believe that's the governor of Washington in this particular picture. And let me ask you this, Phil Kerpen from Americans for Prosperity. When you say helped write, the stimulus bill, what did they attended a conference and gave some ideas, or do we know that they were more deeply involved than that?
They were very deeply involved. Actually, in 2008, they put model legislation forward called the Apollo Economic Recovery Act, and a lot of the recommendations from the Apollo Economic Recovery Act made it into the stimulus bill, which was actually even similarly named. It was the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And, we looked through, and almost every recommendation they had was not only in the final stimulus bill, but funded at a higher level than they had even asked for. And we went back even further. Jay Inslee, the representative from Washington State, has been Apollo's closest ally in Congress. He co-authored the book with Apollo Executive Director Bracken Hendricks on the Apollo plan. It was called Apollo's Fire, on the Green Jobs Plan. And we looked at legislation that he introduced in both 2005 and 2007, and there are a lot of elements there that seem to be taken with relatively minor changes and put in the final stimulus bill, things like the production tax credit, the alternative energy vehicle credit. There are a lot of provisions here that have a long pedigree as being things that Apollo has pushed for in legislative language, and Apollo bragged about this. There's no secret here. They're quite proud of the influence they had. They've got a 10-page thing on the Apollo website where they list what they recommended, what they were able to get in the final stimulus bill. They claimed a great victory, and Harry Reid even thanked Apollo for its influence in helping write it and helping build public support for the bill. And we read that quote on the Glenn Beck show. So this is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say we're thankful that you have the the commitment to actually read and look at all this stuff, because goodness gracious, there's a lot to wade through there. And I think we may have a little clip here of Jeff Jones. Let me go ahead. I'm not sure if this is the clip, but I'm going to go ahead and play it because it'll give everybody, it gives us more of a sense of who we're talking about and why these people are important. So hang on. You won't be able, Phil, be able to hear this clip because of the way we're routing it, but unless you have a computer monitor nearby. But I won't play it very long, but we'll be back to you in maybe 30 seconds.
I've been a political activist all my adult life and more, and I think that right now the real priority for us to be addressing is climate change and global warming. What bothers me about it is the impact that it will have on people and the people who are least able to deal with it. We saw this with Katrina. We know that sea level rise is going to affect island nations, poor nations like Bangladesh. These are human rights, social justice issues that really impact me personally a lot. I think with Apollo, the reason I got excited about Apollo from day one is that this idea that we can address and do something about what is the major environmental and human rights issue in the world today, and at the same time be stimulating the economy, creating jobs, and helping people. I'm a big believer in the whole concept of pathways out of poverty, which we try to incorporate into our work. So this is what excites me about it. And when I see us moving forward, and I do see us moving forward, it's very rewarding. The New York State Legislature is right now considering legislation to expand net metering. Net metering is when you install a renewable energy resource on your home or your business, like solar panels or even windmills or biodigesters on farms. And if you generate more electricity than you can use and you send it back up the grid.
As everybody heard enough from Jeff Jones on that clip. This was not the actual confession clip about, I would have done all the weather underground stuff all over again.